Okay, so this is a little lower than the angels, and we'll pick up where we left off. It was a strange commandment. Gabriel had never in his life contemplated stealing so much as a flea from a dog. His mother and father had raised him to be a law-abiding Christian, but he did not mind God saying it, especially when he felt the kindly grip on his shoulder. It felt good. The devil had put on his clothes, dark, close-fitting clothes, and had come sloping back, always placing one foot directly in front of the other, giving him a slinking walk. He was told to put Gabriel in charge of his daughter and led the way. He did not put a hand on Gabriel's shoulder. "I'm Lucy," he said gruffly, "because I always play Lucifer the devil. He's Garvey, but you'd best call him Master. He'd prefer it. What he said about thieving, it's important. We need to be liked. We need to be respectable. One grain of trouble, gall the clergy and councillors like a pin under a saddle. We're pioneers, boy, breaking new ground, planting new footprints on God's old earth. There's none like us. Instead of plays being acted by city craftsmen once a year, we've made a craft of play acting. It's our profession. We don't do it once a year, we do it all year round. Whenever there's town councillors or the abbot will pay us to put on a show." "I never seen a play before," said Gabriel, to indicate in the politest possible way what he did not understand one word of what Lucy was telling him. "Is that a fact? Is that a fact?" Lucy turned and looked at him with piercing black eyes. "You liked it, though." "I think it was the most wonderful thing I ever saw." Lucy considered this and nodded his head. "Shame to spoil it for you then," he said tartly, and walked off, leaving Gabriel face to face with the recorder player he'd seen on stage. It wasn't a boy at all, it was Lucifer's daughter. Izzy had the same pinched dark features as her father, and the same lank black hair, cut shorter. She walked round Gabriel with the same wolfish lope, and then said, "Hide in the wagon till we're out of town. You could get us all into trouble." Hell was a wooden arch with a cloth tunnel behind it and a simple catch holding shut the green eye. It smoked because of the length of tarry rope nailed up behind the gullet, which Lucy set alight before going on stage. God reached heaven by climbing a ladder behind a wooden scenery. His world was peopled by half a dozen rigid individuals who had followed an assortment of callings, from seasonal shearing to thatching, cow herding to churchyard sexton. Mischief or discontent, a hard master of some family tragedy that made home hateful to them, had shuffled together these Jacks and knaves. All they had in common, Hob and Jack, Lucy and Garvey, John and Simon, Adam of Wendell, and the youth who played Eve, was a knowledge of the words and mysteries, some or all. Their affection for the place varied. Some were there because elsewhere they would starve. Some would have starved rather than give up playing. The music was played by two musicians, Rolande and Yardris, sitting cross-legged under the cart with a hurdy-gurdy, reed pipe, a drum and a shawm, or hidden from sight by a straw bale. On a windy day, guy ropes were needed to hold the flat scenery upright. Gabriel quickly discovered why a replacement was needed for the angel. They left behind a pot-bellied shearer who played him previously. They left him slumped in a drunken stupor against a church wall. Lucy forced a penny into his soft sleeping palm, dumped his shearing tools in his lap, and pulled his cap down over his face in the hope nobody would recognise him as one of the players. In the next town, the abbot politely told them that they were not wanted. The craftsmen of the local guilds had been performing a play in the Feast of Corpus Christi for 80 years. No outsiders could do it better. The city's working men and women were too busy to waste another day of idleness. "In the West, the guildsmen threw stones," said Izzy. When once we've been to a place we're liked. You liked us." She had a bald, stark way of speaking, never looking Gabriel in the eye, but staring over his shoulder with a slight frown, creasing her curd yellow forehead. Before Gabriel acted for the first time, she spent hours brushing her hair and fluffing it with a hazel twig into frizzy golden cloud, quite indifferent to his squeaks and ouches. It is as though she were arranging flowers of carding wool. It was just one many of her tasks.